Men rising up to end the silence around us about the chains that bind us, to dispel the darkness of illusion with luminous spiritual technologies, to finally become the hero within us all. And I feel that that little introduction uh, in its wording couldn't have been more appropriate for the subject matter that we're going to be discussing today. This is Arise, the Honest Man's podcast. I'm Karun Avatar Das, and here is my dear, lovely, sparkly co-host Jai Jagannath Prabhu. And
I think you're more sparkly than me today, honestly.
Yeah, you're looking
I need to
sparkly,
up my
bro.
game.
welcome, Jake. It's so good to have you, bro. And we're very much looking forward to hearing your journey crystallizing as the captain of the Semen Retention Army.
Yeah.
So I think we should introduce this with saying that we had one of the most unapologetically authentic, charismatic, and entertaining personalities I think that both Jai and I have ever come across. Nakula Prabhu, Nakul Das, the general of the Semen Retention Army. He was on Arise, episode 32 was the first one we did, Semen Retention Part 1, then we did Semen Retention Part 2, because he just had so much to say, and God, I laughed a lot. It was just fantastic having him here. And then we were joined for the third episode. We had him 3 weeks in a row, and Sarah, his good wife, joined us for Conscious Relationships, which was also a lovely conversation. So for our listeners that perhaps didn't hear Nakula's 3 episodes, highly, highly recommended, episode 32 to 34. Jai, do you want to tell people just kind of like the feedback that we got with Nakula, and just how the whole thing was received, and then we'll hear from Jake how he received it, and his consequent inspiration to anyway, we'll hear the journey.
I
But let's
mean,
hear from Jai.
what I personally remember was that, as with everything in this world, there's a polarity. So it was received in two ways, broadly speaking. The general reception that I got for it was a lot of appreciation, especially from men who, for I think obvious reasons, really appreciate that subject matter, or especially devotee or spiritual men who are trying to gain greater, let's say, integrity with their sexuality. Really appreciate that episode, the level of honesty, the level of vulnerability, and also just the level of confident instruction about how you can get control of your life, and particularly your sexual energy. That was like really well received, and everyone loved authenticity. I remember specifically I remember a few of my friends being like, I don't know about this guy, he seems weird. And before hearing the episode, they were just like, they weren't like jiving it. And after they watched the episode, they're like, I love this guy, and they loved his confidence and his sort of unapologetic nature. Then there was like there was a other side, which was, I would say, less, but a little bit vocal on our social media about how this is whatever repressive, or a lot of negative pejoratives were used by a few individuals who I'm almost 100% sure didn't hear the episode, because a lot of the criticism that was coming was like, sex is beautiful and you should be able to engage in. I'm like, did you hear the episode? Because that definitely wasn't about celibacy. I'll tell you that right now. So, and then I guess it kind of just tells you how the internet functions. Basically, I remember particularly, I don't know if this happened in this episode. Anyway, there was like, it's just like everything on the internet is like a knee-jerk reaction. So you see like a little title, and then immediately begin commenting before you even know what it's about. And then you become incredulous when someone tells you like, hey, it's not even about that. And he was like, and you just start pontificating anyway. So that was kind of the reception that we got. Of course, afterwards, we did a retreat with Nakul, like a little online retreat for semen retention. And because of the reception of it was so well, we had quite a few men sign up for that. And one of the men that signed up for that was Jake here. And so yeah, maybe we could start there. What was when you heard those episodes also? And I remember you specifically, I think, messaging me about those episodes and how you really appreciated them when you signed up for the course. So what was it about the episode that attracted you specifically at that time and attracted you to sign up for the retreat that we would have with Nakula after?
Yeah, well, I think I messaged both of you guys after that, thanking you both for doing it, and I just want to thank you again. Really, you know, the Honest Man's podcast is a great name because that's what you're dealing with, honesty, and I've always been a fan of honesty, so I really appreciate that. And I actually saw one of your podcasts with Mahatma Das as well, and you were thanking him. Something you guys said to him something like, "Thanks for being the bridge between our Krishna consciousness and our humanity," or something like that. And I was like, yeah, that's cool. But then I was thinking to myself, but you guys are doing that as well. Like for me, that's how I feel about you guys, you know. So thank you for also being heroic and honest and bridging that gap to help us with where we're at on our spiritual journey. Yeah.
Nice.
So that's what that the first episode. Let's start with that. When I heard Nakula, that's what it did for me. I was basically crying out for something like this, you know, like many devotees, and we don't often talk about it, just having conflicts with sex desire, you know, like you come to Krishna consciousness, you hear the principles, you try your best to follow. For most people, the other ones are easier to follow, not for all. There's also problems in other areas for people, but for many devotees, you know, as you talked about in those episodes, the no illicit sex principle and what that practically means for a lot of people and how people struggle with it is normal, but it's not really talked about that much. So I was just having, like, I'd say normal struggles. For me, it wasn't even, you know, have a big issue with porn or anything. I just simply didn't know what to do with my sex desire. Like, I have sex desire, it's here. People are saying, oh, just don't have sex. Like, and then what and how, you know, like so much in our philosophy is talked about in so much detail, and like that's what I really appreciate about it. In fact, Bhagavatam in the introduction says this is for men who are intelligent and honest. I was like, yeah, this is what I want. So because I'm naturally kind of like that, I just express what I'm going through. But I found over the years, the more I would express this issue, I'd get either like radio silence, scriptural quotes, or just keep chanting. Those are the three classics.
Right.
And you know, of course, those things can help, and of course, chanting is purifying us on the deepest level. But I just heard people talk about how, for example, yeah, if you hold semen and it runs up to the brain, or some people saying, did you know if you rise your creative energy up, you can use it in your life? I heard people saying this, but I didn't find anyone saying how to do it or talking openly. And when you scratch the surface, you find many devotees are going through these struggles, and you can talk to them to the point of, yeah, I'm going through it too. Oh my gosh, it's so difficult. I'm going crazy here. But there's no one like I found who said how to deal with it, you know. And then I heard your podcast because one of those friends who I spoke to about it, you know, because there's I don't want to disrespect like personal friends of mine saying you can't talk to people about, like, you know, can talk to people about and say, yeah, going through these struggles, but just not many people know how to do it. They know, you know, why no illicit sex, but how.
Sure.
And then so one of these friends came across your podcast, sent it to me, and I just, yeah, it was just such a refreshing thing for me, because I just first of all heard Nakula, you know, talking so openly, as you said, and unapologetically about the subject. And he also was saying how, like, not just let's talk about sex, guys. Let's talk about sex, baby. So stuck together. But like, it wasn't just that, you know. It was like, and this is how, and so then, you know, I knew for me it was a pretty desperate point, because for me it was, this is in the way of my Krishna consciousness, you know. Sometimes it felt like it's my sex desire versus my Krishna consciousness, and it's like just a clear thing in the way. And for a lot of us, it's the thing we struggle with the most, but the thing we get the least help with. And I just feel like, if we're being honest, it needs to be addressed. I was crying out for this to be addressed, and then, like I say, thankfully you guys are brave enough to like approach this subject, and it turns out Nakula really knows what he's talking about. And so I was like, cool. And then when I decide I need something, I just go all in, you know, because the main thing is, as I said, it's in the way of my Krishna consciousness. So I feel like if we really want to advance, we need to really address what's in the way. And so Nakula was talking the talk, he walks the walk, like then went to the workshop, and he was he does what he says as well. He doesn't just talk about it, he does what he says. So for me, it's like as simple as that. It's in the way of my service, so let's try and work on that. And it's just, yeah.
What did you get? So you signed up, being inspired. You signed up for the workshop that we had, the first one with Nakul. And what did you get out of the workshop? That because from the workshop you ended up signing up for his semen retention army. And so, what is it? What did you find compelling about the workshop? Because I was also at the workshop, which was amazing. But a lot of the techniques he was sharing with us were like, you can say, entry level techniques for semen retention. And I was thinking to myself during the workshop that they didn't necessarily, they might not necessarily strike one as a solution, because it was like very, very simple, like breathing
as a
technique.
Solution,
huh?
Yeah,
very simple, like breathing techniques and these sort of like movement exercises, and so yeah, I remember thinking to myself, I was wondering how people were processing that. And I was distinctly remember you being particularly impacted during the workshop, and clearly that later on manifested as you signing up for the Semen Retention Army. So what was it about the workshop that compelled you to sign up for his Semen Retention Army?
Well, I did feel something in though, even though they were like basic things. I did feel something, to be honest. Like we did the 6 healing sounds. I felt something there coming back into my body. You guys talked in the podcast with him. It was really nice points you guys made about like as devotees sometimes needing to come back into our bodies, you know, because we can be a bit, with our philosophy is so incredible and so high, we can sometimes get a bit up in the clouds. And I think you mentioned we can become disembodied. I think you said that. Yeah, maybe. Yes. And so something Nakula said actually when I had a one-on-one with him once, he was like saying, yes, it's true, we're not the body. Because right, as devotees, we just get this hammered, we're not the body, you're not the body. And it's like, you know, are we like above our realization, they're just hammering this point to ourselves, like how to process that, you know? And so he said, yes, it's true, we're not the body. And it's true, we need to transcend the body, but you need a body to transcend, you know? So you need to come back into your body. So yeah, so sorry, in that I immediately felt that these, because I was sold on the philosophy, what he was saying. I was sold that this guy knows what he's talking about. So when I saw the practices, even if they just gave a little thing, even that microcosmic orbit we were doing, I could feel, oh, the energy is there. And he was explaining, if you keep doing this, it becomes more tangible. I'm like, I'm in, man, because I can feel I need to come back into my body. I'm so disconnected, got all these guilts, these weird things going on in there that I can't seem to get rid of. And it's in the way of like me being the better version I could be, doing more service, you know, connecting with Krishna more. So, and he was talking about how, and then he was showing how. So for me, it was a must in my life, I guess. And I could just tell that he doesn't just show, he explains as well. And I could see that, okay, if we keep doing this stuff, it will go deeper. And it has, but I kept doing it, and it is more tangible more and more now. And maybe I just like these kind of things. Like I used to like martial arts. I like all these movements and stuff like that.
You know, I really these days I'm contemplating a lot on this aspect of black and white thinking that we find, you know, very sort of much in our philosophy, in our Krishna conscious circles. And certainly there are absolute truths that we need to adhere to. You know, in the previous episode with David 2 days ago, you know, Jai was, you know, really bringing this point of like the rules of God, you know, these objective laws of being that we need to follow for a sense of peace and happiness. But at the same time, it's like, you know, there tends to be such like heavy black and white thinking, like you are not this body, you are only the soul. But the thing is, you're not this body, but you also are this body, you know.
The body is the body.
Yeah, it's like so then that sort of brings me to this thing of, you know, it's not really, why does it have to be either or? Can't it be and? You know, like how do we reconcile like achintya beta beta, simultaneous oneness and difference? Like we need to deal with our bodies while we have them. So, you know, I just appreciate like it's either sex or God, you know, like it can't be both. But then you have Nakul coming in and really bringing in this perspective of like how to have wholesome sexuality, how to be embodied in a conscious way, you know, like where do we find the and, you know, not
Yeah.
this like intense either or. So I appreciate that aspect, like bringing the wholesome aspect. Just, you know, really beautiful. Jake, I'm super interested, like, how is it, very personal question, but you know, as a young dude with, you know, with sex desire raging through your body, like, you know, like most of us, how, but you said that you you said that porn isn't really an issue for you. So how, like, with all of that going on inside of you, like, how did you or do you kind of manage to like sidestep porn temptation? Like, what's your grounding in that regard?
I mean, I've watched it. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's not like I've never watched it, but it just wasn't a big thing for me, like, an addiction or like the thing, like because now I'm involved in the Slim Retention Army a lot. Like sometimes a lot of guys who are coming, it's the first thing they need to overcome, basically. Like, if you're watching porn and you're pretty much addicted, you just have to stop that before you can get on with the rest. Like, honestly, because it's just so bad for your brain and everything like that. Me, as I say, so I would kind of watch it like if I was really desperate, but it wouldn't really, obviously it doesn't fulfill you, but for me particularly, I've always been attracted only to people I know, really, you know? Like, I find that a bit weird when if I don't know the person.
It's not totally weird, but yeah, it makes sense also.
So then I would probably get into more real life tricky situations, because if I'm not satisfied by looking at people I don't know, you know? But yeah. And I think there's a weird thing for me as well, where this might sound super like false ego, like, but I only get attracted if someone's attracted to me. Like, so I know this person I'm watching on the pornography, they anything about me, like, doesn't turn me on, because it's like they need to be into me, you know. Or like, I've never like seen a prostitute, for example, because I just wouldn't understand that. It's like, I'm paying her though, she doesn't desire me, you know. The point is, it's like some kind of desire and connection. I don't mean to say that to sound like, yeah, I'm so into connection and stuff, but that's just how I felt about it. So obviously in this modern world, we all get bombarded with it. So I've seen that kind of thing, and of course it like arouses me as well if I see like a naked woman or something, like. But it just wasn't a big like the porn thing wasn't such a big. It was more about me figuring out how to transmute this energy I have and use it. But that might be why I was able to move through the course quite efficiently, because I was ready to do that step. But
let's jump into that. I want to hear about that journey. So now you've gone to the workshop that was held through Arise, and you sign up for the Army. So what did that look like? And you're saying you went to the course efficiently. So what does that look like, especially for people who are hearing and are fascinated by this topic and need to get a grip on some of their sexual energies and transmute them and upbuild them and so on? What might they expect from joining the Army and going through this course? Like, what did that look like sequentially?
Yeah, so firstly, you're gonna need to be committed, you know, like doing anything. And this stuff is like, it's I don't want to say it's difficult, but it's like, you know, you're working on yourself, so you're gonna need to commit to it. It also, to sign up to the actual course, I mean, Nakula has some really cool free stuff you can check out, but to sign up to the actual course, there is an investment as well.
Right.
Like, so you have to be, that shows commitment as well. And
I was going to ask about that. Sorry to cut you off, because I wonder how important a factor that is, particularly the monetary factor. And not to sidebar the discussion, but it was something that came in my head thinking about this conversation with you. I'm wondering, like, it seems like it is important if someone's going to really be all in, that there has to be a sort of, like a financial investment. That I guess there are other ways in which you can say that I'm serious, but I feel like in the age of Kali, the real way to say you're serious is by financial investment. Sidebar, I remember when I joined the movement, I was a book distributor I'd never been into book distribution, but like most brahmacharis, we were forced to do it. And I did it for many years in the beginning. And I remember one of the things that we would hear often is that, you would preach to them and people were like, they were appreciating. And they would say to us, book distributor leaders would say to us, when they give money, that is practical appreciation. You know, otherwise they're just wasting your time. So I wonder, when people, like, we have groups and we like can talk about things and so on, but when it comes to really like overcoming, going on this hero's journey of overcoming and becoming, how much is that financial factor like an important factor? Yeah, anyway, it was a question that came up for me. It seems like it's not trivial.
No, I think if something's free, people don't usually appreciate it as much. And I personally think that Nakula deserves money. Like, he's very good at what he does. He's laid out a very nice course. And I think as devotees, we should support each other with businesses as well. We have sometimes this attitude that's like, oh, service and money's bad, like, you know, sex bad, money bad. He's like, he's very good at what he does. So, you know, to give him money for the course, I feel is important. And it also does show commitment. Actually, we see with like some of the soldiers, I see a pattern actually, because I'm now a captain. So I like working with Nakula a bit on it. And you can see the ones who maybe like, because there's a free trial at the beginning, you know, so people get to decide. So you can tell the ones who are serious or not, you know. Like for me, it was no question of I might drop out after the free trial. Like I was like, I'm in, you know. Or if people are paying like less or whatever, or if something's free, they don't take it as seriously, you know. So when people, you know, sign up and they pay and they're in, they take it very seriously. So that's why there is that investment. I actually borrowed the money from my mum to do it. Like I actually, that's how much I knew this was important for me. So I guess it needs to be a must for you. It needs to be something you really need to do, and you do it. And the funny thing is now, I'm actually like getting an income from being a captain as well. So that's where commitment gets you too. Like, oh man, there's this course. It's like, oh, it's quite a bit of money, but like I need it from somewhere. So I borrowed the money, and now I've ended up like being a captain, and you can firstly get an income for looking after guys in the army and for like bringing in guys and stuff like that. So, and that, I don't think that should sound weird to people as well. Be like, oh, then it's a pyramid scheme,
That
is
sounds
it?
cool to me.
It's like then devotees can help each other build. Anyone out there wants to do this work, you can do this work, and then you can also teach it, and it can expand. The army can become like a thing where we all like help each other out, and everyone like, do you know what I mean? Like, what's wrong with that?
I wanna ask this question. There's, you know, Nakula was introducing this idea that you know, there's actually a difference between, like, most people think that orgasm and ejaculation is the same thing, but actually it's not. Like, you actually separate the two.
I didn't know that till he said that. I was like, wow.
Yeah. I mean, it's because it's just like, whoever even says that? It's just like in the Western. I mean, like telling people, like you mentioned semen retention, or people like, what? Why the hell would you want to do that? Because it's like orgasm and like ejaculation, same thing. So it translates into people's brains as like, you don't want to have orgasms. Like, what the hell, you know? So my question is, how long does it take? Like, how long does it take to like practice these techniques and stuff before you can have like a ejaculation-free orgasm?
Wait. That's a great. I mean, that's.
I'm gonna tie that in with the question I haven't answered as well.
Yeah, the first question. Thank you, Jake. Thank you for that. I just want to say, sidebar. Just to your point, crude avatar. I remember sharing that point somewhere on social media, and because I think Nakula has it in the advertisement like that, and someone messaged me, "What sorcery is this?"
Hey man, it is sorcery. Like, yo, like, why wouldn't you want to do this? why did you want to do this sorcery, bro?
Take us there, Jake. Take us to your journey to that experience.
I'll tell you about the course, and then I'll tell you how it gets to that bit.
Yeah.
So the course, okay, you sign up. Let's say you decided you want to sign up and you're committed. So it's a 6-week course, and there's like 27 videos in there that Nakula has like done himself, and they all have like explanations. There's like a recommended schedule for each week, and so you go through the course online like that. But he also is there for you for coaching calls. You have a set up coaching call where he defines your goals, and you have like a tracking sheet. So you put your goals on a tracking sheet, and then he checks it regularly. Or now I'm checking them because I'm a captain for other guys, you know. So you have the course, which takes you through the techniques, which I'll get into, like how it develops. Then you also have the tracking, and you also have a support group. You get put in a WhatsApp group with other guys who are doing the same thing, and you all support each other. You share your wins, like, yeah, man, I retained for this long. Whoa, well done. Or like, oh man, I just jerked off to some porn or whatever. And then people are like, oh, keep going, brother, or whatever, like that. So so that's like three aspects. You get the course material, which is has a lot of substance. Then you get support, because it's hard to do anything on your own, just by yourself. Then you get accountability tracking, people checking. So on this accountability tracker, you have to write retain or ejaculation every day, and it's like Nakula's gonna see that if I, like, but it's not like bad, but it's like we're keeping each other accountable and checking. So those are like the three kind of aspects of it. And then the course itself, the first, I'd say 2 weeks, what I was explaining before, what I appreciated about the workshop I did with you guys, it's more teaching you how to come back into your body, be grounded, accepting, freeing guilts and shames, like, because it's really hard to inspire anything under these guilts and shames. I was struggling with those for years. I actually think I did a lot of work on that before getting to this point, because I think I needed to just even get through those guilts and shames before I could even get to the point where I was ready to work on this stuff. So the first week is the foundations of what's going to happen later in the course. So you're working on breathing stuff, which is to get your body used to storing more energy, stuff that frees up the pathways for later on running that energy around the body. So all different kinds of meditation, standing ones. There's like a deep earth pulsing one, which is like with the earth. It's pretty cool. Qigong, a lot of people know about that, like which is using energy and these healing sounds and stuff like that. Mantra meditations in there as well. He puts the Maha Mantra in there as a thing that you need to do to transcend this sex desire too. And that was, he was even making that for non-devotees, and that was in there. Now there's so many devotees in the course, like the groups are just full of devotees, so it's become like, really the army's taken over by devotees, man. So that's then awesome. As the course develops, it goes into more things. So at the beginning, you just have to learn to come back into your body, get your energy channels like flowing a bit more. And then you get into the more, it goes a bit deeper. It becomes more and more tangible. And this is where it becomes like it's down to the individual, like, so the thing is, like Nakula, he doesn't really judge what you're going to do with it. He just kind of gives you the tools. So you could decide to use this stuff to be healthily celibate if you wanted. Like if you're practicing brahmacharya, you could just be like, I'm brahmachari, or I'm trying to be celibate, but I just get really agitated by these desires, and I just feel like I'm oppressing. I don't know what to do. Quite soon with these techniques, like I was just so happy that I was just able to calm that sexual energy, and that I didn't need to be scared of it anymore. It's like only after maybe a month or two, I realized, oh, wow, thank you so much. Like it means now when this energy comes up, I know, okay, it's a conscious choice what I do with it. I can use it in the sexual act if I want, consciously, not like because I'm going wild and I can't stop it. But like I can engage in sexual activity if I want, but I can also consciously firstly calm that energy down. There's some really good techniques, which it blew my mind as well, for years of just not knowing how to calm this energy down and just thinking, it's gonna blow or whatever. Well, once it comes up, it's just going one way, Right. Now it's like quite soon I learned, you can just calm it. So instead of being like, oh no, don't think of sex because I know I'm gonna get distracted and feel bad about it. Now it's just like, conscious choice. Do I act on it in that way? Because sex desire doesn't always mean sex. It's just, or sexual energy doesn't mean sex. It's just a type of energy. And you can learn to raise it up, and then it doesn't bother you in that way anymore. And you put it into your life. Like imagine all that intense energy into your life instead, into your work, into your whatever you do, creative expression. And then this is where the question about the difference between orgasm and ejaculation comes in, because I didn't know it either. But apparently the reason there's an ejaculation is because the orgasm happens in the genital area, that chakra, the base chakra. Yeah. So that's where most of the desire comes up. It's in that area. There's an arousal there, and the need to release it is in that area. But with practice, you can learn to raise that energy up And like I say, you can do that with non-aroused energy, and it could just be a way to raise the energy up, and now I feel the energy in my heart and I'm feeling more connected, or using my voice or my intelligence, putting it into the different energy centers and using the energy. Or if you want to get into the more tantric stuff, you can really build that and feel orgasmic, like energetical pleasure in those areas, working with aroused energy. So it's different for different people. If you want to just remain like celibate healthily, you might not want to get into that. You might just want to stop at knowing how to deal with your energy and calming down and not repressing. But if people are sexually active, and let's be honest, a lot of us are, and a lot of devotees are, they don't want to say, but there's something to be said for, if you're gonna do it anyway, might as well learn how to do it in a more conscious way. And maybe if you're with a partner, you can be more connected with them and stuff like that. And yeah, some sorcery, you can actually apparently learn to have full body energetical orgasms, and therefore you still retain that energy. The energy builds rather than releases and depletes. And apparently in that state, people, they feel more connected together, they build up the energy and have more energy after, instead of losing. I don't know about that particularly, because firstly, I'm single, so I haven't tried that. But also, it probably takes a while. I've moved the energy around enough to feel some little wow, pleasure there. I'm not sure I haven't had a big full body orgasm or whatever, but I'm also considering taking my time to to where I'm going with it. But I was just really happy that quite quickly I was able to calm the sexual energy down and redirect it. And that was just such a blessing, because for years it was just a struggle. And I think whether we're either letting it out or repressing, to me, it seems to have the same result. You're basically weak, you're not your full self, because you're either letting out your energy or you're holding it down. And so it's just, I just feel more clear now, more focused, because I don't have to be scared of that energy and can raise it. But as I say, different people can get into it to whichever level they want. And the course actually builds, the final week of the course is all these I guess it gets more into those kind of things. So someone could decide, no, I don't really want to get into that energetical orgasm stuff. I'll just stop at feeling more grounded and and being able to control my sexual urges. Thank you. But some might go further because they're already.
I think that part, for those who critique the episodes with Nakula that we had before, and in the at least a few that I saw, that point was definitely missed. That semen retention definitely translated in people's head as celibacy. And at least it was clear that that's how it translated from the remarks that we got. Whereas you're saying here is no, listen, this is just teaching you how to control that energy, and you can use it however you like. And that part, it seemed like that part was definitely missed.
No, and you can have non-ejaculatory sex as well. That's one thing. If you, that's where you're at, you can learn how to do that. And actually, apparently, I can feel it already. You raise the energy up. You have even not energetical orgasms. You just feel the energy through your body, powerful energy. You kind of feel you kind of do transcend the senses in a sense. An ejaculation feels like a lower taste to that. This is one thing I found amazing about this is it's actually giving me a higher taste in the area of sex. All the other areas, I wasn't really into drugs either, but you chant the Maha Mantra, most people, they just feel oh, I don't want to drink anymore because this is better. You start eating paneer and you're oh, I'm not eating burgers anymore. It's easy, innit? But the sex desire one's a bit more difficult, and I personally didn't find a higher taste in that area. I've been almost 8 years since I came to Krishna consciousness. My sex desire I didn't feel it change at all, to be honest with you. If anything, I felt I was becoming more perverted because I was repressing it and I started going a bit crazy. So and now I'm getting a higher taste in this area, and I've only been doing it 5 months, and it's wow, what a turnaround. So it's really up to the individual how far they want to take it,
Oh, beautiful.
Amazing. Yeah.
I have a question, Jake, but first I would just like to make a little insertion here, is that just reminding everyone that we happen to be Hare Krishnas practicing to different levels, but we happen to be Hare Krishnas, but this is not a Hare Krishna podcast.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So this is a podcast for men
Yeah.
first. This is a podcast for jivas that have male bodies and need to deal with the typical struggles that they face as a result of that. So we talk very openly about things, and don't don't be appalled, because if you're expecting this to be a Hare Krishna podcast, it's not. It's about like male energy. I'm just putting that, Jake, I know you know this. I'm just putting this out there for everyone. We're asking direct questions. We're being very open about things. So yeah, that's just important to know. So for everyone who doesn't know, Jake he's a very creative individual. He's a musician. He's a poet. He's a wordsmith of sorts, and that's primarily his occupation. So Jake, I'm super interested to know, as a creative person, like, how are you experiencing like the transformation of gaining better control of your sexual energy, and like channeling that into creative energy, and in like the productiveness of your creative output and stuff, know what I mean? So just like, yeah, how are you redirecting sexual energy into creative energy?
Well, firstly, the productive side has been really, really helpful, because I've always been creative, like writing songs and stuff. But to be honest, I was pretty bad at like getting them finished, produced, and promoted and all that. So I just got like 100 songs in my laptop that are not out. Like, so I was already being creative, but something about it, I didn't have the focus, like the real motivation to do all the other stuff. But now, I mean, it's only been a short time. I'm not going to say, and now my life has turned around in this way as well. But it's like, but a bit like, I feel like I'm more focused on getting things done, getting things finished. It just feels like more energy, not lying around like feeling bad or whatever and stuff, because it's hard to create, again, as I said earlier, in guilt. It's hard to inspire stuff in guilt. I was still creating, but it's like a certain, emotion that's probably not helpful. So I feel I don't know if I feel more creative because I'm a creative person. I think there's some kind of a little bit of a myth as well, that people say, like, if you do this, you're going to become more creative. You're going to become more of who you are. Like, so if you're not an artist, you ain't going to do this and suddenly start like painting stuff or whatever. But you're going to do, so say if you're like a businessman, you're going to be better at that and have more energy to do that. So you'll do it more, and you'll be like more productive with it and have more. It's just about focusing the energy. So it just basically makes you more of who you are. So yeah, that's how I feel. I just feel like more, just more conscious, grounded, connected, more clear, and more creative, but just like more like me, basically.
I love that. I love that articulation of this. You become more of who you are. You said it earlier also, but you used it in the kind of in the converse where you were saying that whether you ejaculate or you repress it, the result is basically the same, that you're less who you are. And then now you're saying the opposite way. Now being able to not be afraid of that energy, I can become more of who I am. I kind of want to just explore that just a little bit more here. And you've mentioned this also in the context of like needing to kind of overcome guilt and shame before you could even do this work. You said you were kind of spent some time doing that, and then you heard the podcast, and then you came into that work. So I'm kind of curious about that bit a little bit, like being less yourself due to the sort of oppression of guilt and shame, and like what work did you do to get you through that before you felt, not that necessarily before you felt this, but you said you kind of did that before you came to do this work, and maybe that was important for you to come to do this work also. So I'm kind of curious about that bit a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. I don't want to be like negative about the devotee community or anything, but like, often, as I say, I would even talk about this guilt, and it would again just keep chanting, the guilt will go ahead, and you're just plagued with this guilt, So I started to maybe controversially like look at outside things that might help, and I personally think like anything that is favorable could be used if you have the right intention of to to improve my Krishna consciousness. You know,
What
you
was
don't
the
want to.
guilt? I'm kind of curious. What was the guilt? Because we often use that word.
Okay, yeah,
But
no,
generic, maybe for you, how did it translate?
my guilt was basically for having sex desire when it seems like we're not supposed to. It seems like you look around the movement and people are like, I'm very peaceful, and then you talk to them about it and they're like,
Fake news,
Prabhu, it's
fake news.
Bhagavatam says, and you're just like, oh no, so it's just me, you know. And but then of course you scratch the surface with many people when you if you talk to them and they're like they're going through it too. So over the years I was just like, it's very strange, this juxtaposition of everyone, not everyone, but many people going through it, but everyone pretending they're not. Like it was very strange. I'm not say everyone, but you know what I mean. It was there's this contrast there. So it's just feeling bad. I mean, maybe it's maybe a bit stupid. Like maybe it was more for me than others, but because I probably have it in other areas. I've got like a conscience, so I'm always worried I'm doing the wrong thing a lot, you know. But I'd be trying to go in the temple and just feeling bad about having sex desire. If I ever tried to stay in the temple, I'd be just, I know it happens to everyone, but just chanting and just the desires coming up and then just feeling so dirty. Like even I was a bit prone to OCD, but over these years I've developed it probably more because of just washing my hands. And I know it's like psychosomatic of trying to wash off the dirt, you know, and I know it's like we all have dirt and need to accept that. But you know, doing a kirtan, doing a harinam, and you're trying to connect, but you're also like, I'm so dirty though. Like, and it's just like,
No, I always when
and,
people would say like sing from your heart. I'm like, bro, my heart is
yeah. So I would feel bad about going into the temple or whatever, being in front of the deities. Just and I guess many people feel that it's not unique, but that kind of guilt basically. And if I would do something sexual, I would have like a mad guilt about it. Like, you know, I've learned since that it's actually a kind of a biological thing as well. You feel down and stuff about it if you're like ejaculating and stuff. But connected to my spiritual life, it was like just making me feel like, you know, just so in between. Like you were saying, it's either sex or God, and we're all somewhere in between, of course. But it just that was really standing out to me. Like I'm just so in between. Like I'm not at this level where I know, like, oh, you're not the body, or like, you know, perfectly like just so advanced, but I'm also like I'm into spiritual life, you know, like I'm not like just want to be like wild or whatever. So it's just bringing up a lot of guilt, really, and yeah. So I again through talking to some friends about it, they gave me some things. I found some cool energy techniques, basically. Like what Nakula does is also energy techniques, but I feel like I needed to do these ones to get to this. I did EFT, emotional freedom technique, tapping. I'm actually a qualified EFT practitioner. I did the same thing with that. This works. I love it. I'm going to show people. You know, like, so I did that as well. EFT really helps. It basically accesses your body's energetical system and clears out emotions that you don't need anymore. Yeah, so that's really cool. And I personally think you can connect these things to Krishna. If you add Krishna to anything, we know it's like times by infinity. So I always have the intention whenever I do these things is, you know, praying to Krishna, connecting to Krishna, please help me to really, you know, overcome these obstacles and get closer to you. And there's some things that can help. I also did some meditations, again, controversial. Some devotees are like, oh, don't look at anything outside of Prabhupada's books, you know. But there's one cool guy called Dr. Joe Dispenza. I read some of his books and did a lot of his meditations, and they really, really helped. Now he's Mayavadi, but you can just take what he does and add Krishna to it, and it Krishnizes it. You don't have to be scared, like, oh, it's like it's good spiritual science that can help, and everyone's different. This is what helped me.
This is for how you were processing guilt. This Joseph Dispenza stuff. Okay.
Yeah. So it's energetical work to release that stuff, because anything like that is just being held in your energetical system like a bruise on the subtle body, you know.
Ooh.
So it's work on the subtle body. So we're not the body and we're not the mind, but the body is the body and the mind is the mind. And so you have to take care of them, innit? It's like you're not your car, but we always use that analogy, but if it breaks, you can't just be like, oh, well, I'm not the car, so just drive, Herbie. Like, it ain't gonna drive, is it? Like, you gotta put the petrol in or whatever. And same with the mind. I guess it's like the software. Not that cars have software, but you know what I mean. You gotta look after it, and if it's broken, you gotta do something. So there are many other things as well, but these things helped me, and I tried to always keep connected to Krishna. That was the intention. I'm trying to use these things to get over these obstacles that I'm not seeming to get over as I'm doing, just like hanging around the temple, like quite honestly.
Yeah.
And then I got to the point where I was a bit more free of guilt, and I feel like then I was able to face the sex desire thing a bit more directly, you know.
Jake, I'd like to hear your take on because it's interesting. A lot of the stuff that you're mentioning is like very, you could say, practical, and I'm going to use these other two words, but don't take it as like downplaying it, but like almost like external kind of mechanistic ways of dealing with like guilt, right? Like you're working with your energy channels, and you're doing this and that. So like almost like, you know, because there's a saying like usually the body follows the mind, but sometimes you've got to make the mind follow the body, right? So I feel like that applies a lot to what you've said. But I'd like to hear your take on you know, letting go of guilt and shame by means of a paradigm shift of like, I'm berating myself over all of these things that I am and am not. That is like worlds away from the ideal. But the fact of the matter is that I am who I am and I'm not what I'm not. And rather just accept yourself, you know? So like self-acceptance as the antidote, and, you know, largely. So I'd like to ask you, is that sort of like a sort of an approach that you have thought about or perhaps taken just as like a mind shift, like, okay, these things are there, but they're there, so what can I do? So I might as well just let it go, because, you know, the guilt's just kind of like a useless emotion.
Yeah, I think for years I was feeling so in between, as I said, and just wanting to feel okay with, to accept where I'm at, and to want to keep progressing. Nakula says this as well. He keeps reiterating it's not about moving the goalposts. Like, we know what the highest is, we know what we're aspiring to. It's about understanding where I'm at and how can I be most authentic from that point, and probably how can I do better service from that point of being authentic, you know, rather than pretending I'm something I'm not. So I don't know, this could be wrong, and I'm sure many people could, you know, bring some philosophy in to counteract this, but I'm just saying from where I'm at, this, yeah, being plagued by this guilt for so long, it wasn't doing any good for me, for anyone, for my Krishna consciousness. So I just really needed to, it felt quite hard to accept where I'm at and just move from there, like, you know, and that's what this has been really. And I definitely feel like you can be more authentic from that point of accepting where you're at and just improving from there, instead of pretending you might be higher than you are. And I can't really live with that. I can't really I just can't really pretend. I don't. It's quite hard for me to lie. That might be a lie, but no. I just don't. I feel uncomfortable with like just pretending so much. I just can't deal with it, you know. So I just wanted to yeah, like I said, set to where I'm at. So
I think, I mean, maybe like a really big part of self-acceptance and being able to accept where you're at is to have a sense, even just an inkling of fulfillment where you are at. Like doing something meaningful and purposeful and like in line with who and what you are. Because then you're like, okay, well,
keeps you moving.
Yeah. So maybe that, you know, that's kind of required, because it's like one thing when people say, yeah, you just got to accept where you're at. But what if like where you're at is objectively speaking just like a super dysfunctional, like depressed, unengaged place?
It's not the way you're at is. It's weird. It's okay, but it's not that you, like the modern paradigm is, oh, everything's fine, whatever you are, just accept where you're at. Like, it's not that, because actually where you're at might not be okay. Like you might need to improve. So it's like, but in order to improve, you have to also accept where you're at. Like, you have to accept and admit, and then go ahead with making your improvements. My point was like just not pretending. Like, don't just jump over it by saying, oh, well, you're not the body, and just keep chanting. So, but then I'm still just stuck with this issue. And I don't know, maybe I'm not going deep enough into just chanting and just saying, you're not the body, you're not the body. But I don't know, because there'll probably be people listening, not that I can't do other people's thinking, but, you know, some, again, I know it's not a Hare Krishna podcast, but some spiritual seekers will say, yeah, but this is your conditioned self. You're talking about accepting yourself where you're at, loving yourself, but this is your conditioned self. That's not you. Focus on like who you really are. None of this is you. You're not the body, you're not the mind. So I guess I guess to redefine, oh, technically you can't love yourself because you are the self. Yeah, like this, it needs to be two people. It's a relationship, love. So you are the soul. You can't, you love God or you love other people. You can't love yourself. You are the self. Technically, you also can't really accept yourself because you just are. Like, it doesn't make a difference. You just exist. You are the self. So I guess in this situation, what we're talking about is the mind and the body. And people in the material concept, they think that's the self love. So we're talking about looking after your body and your mind, and that maybe that's okay. And it's called self-acceptance, self-love, because there is some mix of who we really are and where we're at in this body and this mind, and trying to put them together and make progress and transcend, you know. So I don't know, I kind of just came up with that. That's how I see it, though. It's like, I know that that's not the self, like a rapper or whatever I think I am is like, that's who I am, I'm being who I am now. Like, I know maybe in the spiritual world that's not who I am, but you know, I'm trying to do the best with my conditioning and love and accept that with the intention of progressing in Krishna consciousness. And it just seems like a more viable path for me.
It makes sense. I mean, even if you think about it philosophically, also, there's always, you can say, either a tension or polarity engine of being and becoming. So, you know, you are something right now, physically or metaphysically, however you're thinking about it, but you're also trying to become something. And even if you think about how spiritual life progresses or even self-help progresses, when you progress, then you become something. And that becoming something becomes a new standard of being. And then from that platform, you have to become something more because you're moving progressively forward. So it's like kind of like a polarity engine between being and becoming that's always kind of going on. That dynamic is there. And yeah, a sort of, you can call it a self-acceptance, and you can give some other term to it, but being is part of the formula. I am something now. I'm standing or situated in a particular domain, and I'm also trying to become something, and this dynamic is playing off.
That's the accepting, but also still wanting to improve. The difference in the I'm okay where I'm at or I'm accepting where I'm at is with the intention. Like, the intention is also important. Then why do I need to accept where I'm at to improve? You know, and even these self-help things, which I have dipped into, or energy work, as I said, it's really important that if you are trying to improve your connection with God, that you add that intention to that, because it is true that kind of world, people get lost in that. They start healing and then they're like, I healed myself, I am God, like, you know. And then so much of this self-help field is, hi, kill it, crush it, do you want to be the best you can be, like me, we're all God, like, you know. So you can go down that path, and that's why probably a lot of people look at that and go, oh, don't do that, like that sort of Mayavadi, or like, you know, these different, because it can go down that path where you start to think, like, get a bit puffed up. But it can help if you have the intention, the right intention, you know. That's what I've experienced.
What's also really important is just like the sangha aspect, the community aspect. I mean, it's like the Semen retention army, like a bunch of guys with a shared goal who are really like in it together and there to like encourage each other. I mean, gosh, you know, Jake, could you have ever done this alone? Just like learned some techniques off the internet and just like taught yourself somehow or other? Nah, like you need your brothers. There's this really cool saying that if you and I'd like to introduce this as a as a sense that we also need to take responsibility as a community for each other's well-being. So the saying goes like, if you treat a person in accordance with where they're at, then they'll never become anything more. But if you treat them like they're the person that they can become, like in their full potential, then that is what they will be, right? So like see someone for their full potential, treat them accordingly, and then that will help us to really grow.
That's interesting. Never heard that before. All right, I got a couple other things here from my side that I'm
Mm.
interested in.
Yeah.
I'm trying to decide which one to ask for. I think I asked this one first. So becoming a captain.
Mm.
I want to hear about that and what are the responsibilities? What are the responsibilities of being a captain? Like how
Yeah.
did you become a captain and what are the responsibilities of being a captain?
So you can become a captain if you graduate the course and do quite well. Um, and so basically now I have a battalion. I'm a captain of a battalion. My
I
my battalion is
love the
called the
language.
Vikings Battalion. They all have different names, and
Okay.
it's a battalion of devotees. I think we have about 7 or 8 guys in there now, and yeah, so there's different battalions. The battalion I entered in when I joined was Sadhu soldiers. Yeah, that's another devotee battalion. But now, so basically, you know, because Nakula can't like look after every single like the more it grows, can't look after like everyone. He can still
Right.
look after you individually, but like as a group. So then I'm a captain and I look after this group and tell them, you know, about my journey and help them with any questions they have. Yeah. So and I meet with Nakula regularly to discuss that. And that's basically it. And anyone can become a captain, as I say. The idea is the thing expands and expands. The more and more people do it, it can be an army. That's what an army. Different regiments, different battalions. They expand. And by the way, I was always into this army stuff as well. Like
Oh,
I already had these army clothes. I didn't buy it after I joined the army. I just had like I just go in army shops sometimes. Like
I was
yeah,
wondering about that, bro. Like, where you getting all these rockin'
yeah.
army garments from, bro?
Then I was like, finally, I have a place to use these army clothes, and like I've got like a grenade over there as well. Like I just went into a army shop. It's like, how much is that grenade, by the way? Like, and it's like, it's like it's also a light. It's a lighter, right? And I was like, oh, I don't need a lighter. What am I gonna do with a lighter? But it looks like a grenade, so I bought it. Don't know why. I just yeah, so I connect with that as well. Obviously, people have different archetypes they connect to, so I like that aspect. But I also would like people to know that, like, once you're in the army, it's not like full army. Like we don't say like 1,000 hours or stuff like that. It's just like the mood is like, yeah, come on, we're a group. You know what I mean? So you don't have to be all into that like army stuff to join either. It's just a group of guys helping each other. Yeah, and that's what a captain does. He just
how
help look
how
after guys.
how has that enriched you? Like just being a captain, it must be an enriching experience to help out in this. You've been helped in this way to also be facilitating.
It's natural for me to, whenever something helps me, to try and tell others about it. So maybe I was doing that already, and Nakula saw that and thought, "Oh yeah, you keep doing that." Um, so yeah, it's very helpful. It also makes you take more responsibility and be more accountable as well. It's like, oh, now I'm a captain, I better retain. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Uh,
Sure.
like for example, in the first few months, like I'll be like completely open about it. Like, don't know why I said that. Like when people say that, it makes them seem as if they weren't being open before. But I just because it's a bit more personal. Like my first goal was to retain once a month when I first joined. And every time you join, you have a discussion and you have personal goals. Like because goals are important, but they have to be personal. So my first goal was, retain once a month, and I was able to do that in the first few months. And then when Nakul asked me to be captain, it was right at the moment I decided I want to go for like the 90 days, because he spoke about that. Many people in semen retention, like Phil, talk about 90 days. When you hit that, whoa, so
Yeah,
I
I remember seeing a meme of a guy saying he just completed his 90-day semen retention, and he was like, it was a picture of him levitating in the air. You know,
yeah,
like-
yeah. So that coincided. So it was like it kind of boosted me up, like I'm a captain now. I'm going for my 90 days. Like So yeah, and actually my 90 days ends on end of December. So like, yeah, happy New Year to me, I guess. But but also I just wanted to add, also, you know, this can help with wet dreams a lot as well. Maybe there's guys out there who, because especially with devotees, like we try to retain, but then we can't help. Sometimes there's like wet dreams happen. I was always disturbed by that. I don't know if that's right or wrong. Maybe it's normal. I always didn't feel that was normal for an adult. I thought like, yeah, if you're going through puberty or something and it's just like you got so much energy, but I didn't have that before I came to Krishna consciousness. Then I started having that. I felt like this is due to some repression. Like I could just tell. I don't. So I've since learned that if you are having wet dreams, it's because the energy is still actually in that area. The subconscious is still full of so many impressions and desires. And as I said, it depends where the energy is. If the energy is in that area, then it will be released through an ejaculation. So like every night before bed now, I consciously run the microcosmic orbit and run my energy up somewhere else. So it's like when I go to sleep, it's in my heart space or whatever. And when I do that, there's no wet dream. So in the first like few months, there were still some wet dreams. And now, you know, I'm not saying they're gone forever, but I haven't been having wet dreams for the last, I don't know, I need to check my sheet, but for a while now. So it's all it's just very, very true, you know, where the energy is, and it's all in our subconscious, you know. So this actually, what energy work does is it also reprograms the subconscious, so you can retain consciously, but the subconscious mind is much bigger than the conscious mind. So but you can actually reprogram the subconscious mind with this kind of thing, and won't even really be bothered by these weird sex dreams because you're repressing anymore. So because you still lose semen in wet dreams, it's like you still lose your energy. So I think it's important to know that you can stop that as well.
Nice. I only have one final thing personally. I
Okay.
don't know if Karuna Avatar, if you got something. My question is,
no, you go for it first. I sort of have something that I want to
I
ask.
my sort of, I guess you can say, final question, or I guess point of interest, because you are a spiritual practitioner, you are a devotee of Krishna Bhakta. I'm curious about how this has assisted your bhajan life, like your life of communion with Krishna, because you've mentioned throughout this conversation how all of this was really to help that connection, that the desire for deeper communion with God. So I'm kind of curious how about that sort of transformation, like what it was before you started investing in this particular way, and what it is now, or what it is becoming now as a result of some of these practices, at least for you, connecting that as a result of these practices.
Yeah, great question, because that's kind of the proof of what I'm saying, isn't it? That's like the fruit of what I've been saying, why I should do it, why I'm doing it. I definitely feel, this is obviously a subjective thing, like I feel more connected to Krishna through all of this. As I say, I try to add him every time I do these, you know, practices. I ask him to join me in the practices, and even more connected to Mother Earth, and as well, because I like praying to her and stuff. And so that's there. I honestly have always been, like, maybe not always, but for a long time, very bad at chanting. Like I find it very difficult, and some might say, "Oh, that's why he's into all this stuff." Like, but that's just being honest. Like that's just being honest. It's been hard for me, and I did also have a weird connotation to chanting. I don't know if anyone else relates, but from this thing that I was always bringing up my issues, and people just say, just chant, and then chanting became like a thing that was like, I want to really change that around, and I can feel it changing now the more I'm being more accepting. But it became like as if, you know, like a child. I've heard a story of like Guru Kuli children. They go to the corner and chant, and they grow up being like, I don't like chanting because it's like stressful, you know. But that's how I felt a bit. Like it was always, whenever I was like trying to express myself, it was like just chant, and it became like a stressful thing that I have. It's really bad, but over the years I had like a stressful I know chanting isn't easy for anyone, but I had like a negative thing to chanting. Like a chanting, it's just like, oh, the Hare Krishna is just telling me what I got to do this,
right.
And all the issues coming up. So that's been really difficult, and I honestly feel like this stuff that I'm clearing now is freeing me up to be able to get back to good chanting, you know. So anyway, I feel I connect to Krishna in different ways. Everyone does as well. I always connect to Krishna through writing music with him and bhakti art, and that feels. I've always been doing that, but it feels more free now. I feel like more free to express that, and I just feel the deeper I go into these things, removing these conditionings, I feel closer and closer to him because I do it in quite a personal way with him, and I'm hoping my chanting will improve too.
That's amazing that you say that you've been doing this process with Krishna. I mean, I don't know, it's something very sweet about that language. Like I'm God, you come on this journey with me. Like I need you to come on this journey with me and be there with me as I'm going through this.
Yeah, to be honest in front of him as well, you know, like I'd always have that, like offering him food and being like, oh no, but I've got this desires, I can't offer him food properly. Now it's just like, you know, I don't know, like even accepting yourself, accepting him, he's accepting you. It's like it seems like a deeper level to a relationship, that acceptance. But this is just my journey, but I definitely feel more connected spiritually through doing this stuff.
Nice.
Wow, man, excellent. It's I I have this sort of one thing that I'd like to bring in, but I'm not really sure how to articulate it exactly. Like Jake, I can you say something about, okay, let me say like the relevance of like doing this work like for all men. Do you feel like this applies to everyone? Like what if someone feels like maybe a little bit indifferent to it, or like they're like, yeah, you know, like I kind of like to ejaculate. Like what would you say? Like how would you convince someone with a bit of a like indifferent kind of energy that this is applicable, or like is this universal? Like should everyone can everyone gain benefit from doing this?
I think everyone can, but at the same time, it's not for everyone. Like there's so many different people in the world, so this is not gonna be for everyone. But the practices, of course, if anyone does it, will, like I said, it makes you more of who you are. So that's for anyone. But it depends. Like for me, it was a real must. And possibly 2 years before, if I would have heard about this, I would have been like, oh, nah, man. You know what I mean? You have to be at a certain point. I think we have to look at why we're indifferent. Is it that you don't need it, or is it that it makes you uncomfortable? So you're like, yeah, no, that's stupid. Like, you know, because some people are like, have been, you know, saying, oh, it's a bit cringy or whatever. Or, so some people might actually be cringing because it's just they don't like it. But some people it might be touching a nerve in them, you know, and they're like, oh, I think this is what I need, but it's too much, you know. So all I can say is how I have experienced it is that it's very much worth it, and that it is like the same for everyone. If they do the practices, they will become more of who they are. But it has to become a must, you know. We only want people to do it that are committed. You can't just like go, yeah, I'll give it a go. It's like you have to, like I did the course exactly how Nakula designed it, like every day, like half an hour, like exactly, like to get the results out of it. So you have to maybe be at a point where you really, like I just knew I needed it. So you have to be committed, and it might not be for everyone, although the benefits can benefit everyone. But of course, it's a particular thing, you know. Not everyone has to do it.
Yeah, so if you have an ambivalent energy about it or whatever, it's kind of like it's probably not going to work. Like there has to be some real commitment, like fueled by sincere desire, or like a sincere knowing that like this is what I need. This is going to be
Yeah,
for my
if
life.
you feel like, oh, I'm not being the best I can be, and you think somewhere it's telling you this might be the reason, like that I'm like not got the energy to do everything I want, like then that might be a big enough reason to commit to it. Also, if you feel like me, that is really in the way of your spiritual life, I'd say that's a good enough reason to do it. Like it just became really like obvious to me that this stuff, I was just so sick of it, like being in the way of just being so conflicting. And so I just wanted to deal with it. So it depends how important those things are for you, or if there's another way for your family, you know what, like maybe the relationship with your partner or your family, if it's like weird in that area, like be honest about it. and you can make it better in that area.
Mm.
And have a better family life. If that is that a good reason to do it?
Yeah,
Or
bro,
no,
it's
I'd
like,
rather just have my orgasm every now and again. It's a bit cheap to me. Like, but I am gonna say that.
That's good. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the General of the Semen Retention Army, Nakula.
Oh, what a surprise!
Arriba.
Soldier.
Yeah.
Soldiers retain.
Hey,
Like
you okay on this thing?
Yeah,
I'm doing
man.
this. I didn't
think
expect
so.
to come on, so this is like an impromptu deal, which is totally cool. I love these, and I don't want to hijack Captain Jake and his his story, because it's really inspiring. Because I'm listening to this, but I'm learning from Jake right now. I'm like, oh, okay, that's good. It's like, it's like getting like feedback and what's the experience like, for him to come through the army. So it's been real. I've just been really enjoying the show. So thank you guys, man. Like, just, you guys are amazing. Yeah. Every one of you.
Excellent. Nakul, I wanna know two things from you. Firstly, just like your like as a proud father, like watching Jake come into the army and like your desire to promote him to the status of captain. Just give us a little bit of an experience of having Jake in the army and how dope he is.
Yeah. Well, Jake is definitely dope. Look, honestly, like Jake, earned it. Like, I don't feel like I gave Jake anything other than he kind of created an opportunity for himself within the army.
Yeah.
He came in, he rocked the course, he was dedicated. He could do better on his accountability tracking, but he's doing good on that now.
Yeah, I was forgetting to track it.
Accountability tracking sheets, right? And truthfully, I always like, you guys know, like, I break balls, right? But so it's like I like he's just I don't really feel like I promoted Jake. It's more that Jake created an opportunity for himself because he came in, he did the practices, he rocked it, and I saw he was talking about it on his social media, and then I was like, yo, man, like, if you're gonna talk about it and you're like you want to help promote this thing, let's join forces. And so I see it more as like a partnership. And Jake has really brought so much to the table. His content is great. His understanding and his own experience and his ability to articulate that has just brought. It's why we actually, just so you know, 2 guys signed up yesterday. So I believe your battalion is actually full. So we're going to be opening up the samurais next.
Oh God! I just want to say, like, when you open up the Super Saiyans, like, I'm there, bro. I'm there. Right. Jai, what you want to say?
No, I was gonna say someone actually gifted me an actual katana, like an actual samurai.
No,
that's a sign.
This is the captain of the samurais.
No, right? No. Jai and I, we're just the gatekeepers, right? Like, you guys got the military compound. We're just the gatekeepers. Like, we just herd people in, like that's our thing. Anyway, not cool. Like, please tell us about the workshop that's happening tomorrow and like what people can expect, like all the deets, yo.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So people can expect to learn how to quit porn. If you're watching, if you're a devotee, especially, right? And you're like, man, I keep watching porn, I'm going to show you, first of all, how to get rid of the guilt and the shame and all the little kind of what I'll call religiousness around that, so that you can deal with it without the mental stories and anguish, but just deal with it matter of fact. Matter of fact, you watch porn. Great. Matter of fact, we're going to then show you how to then use the 3 pillars that we're using inside of the program. So I'm not going to tell you those pillars. You got to register to know those pillars. But you're going to learn these 3 pillars. And in these 3 pillars, you're going to see why how you can create a system around yourself so that you retrain yourself and you protect your mind to getting away from porn. So it's a very systematic, very matter-of-fact approach, which alleviates kind of the nonsense and the, am I a bad person? Am I a good person? Am I going to heaven or hell? And just deal with it. And if you deal with it, guess what? No matter where you go, it'll be better than where you're at right now. So that's a good thing. So
Amazing.
yeah,
I love that.
you can register. Do we have the link? The link is in the comments.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just about to post it now. I'm just bringing it up quickly. Okay.
I love that. Yeah, I just love what you just said, Nakula. Just looking at the thing matter of factly and divorcing yourself from all the religious stories that work more as burden than beacon, and just like deal with it matter of factly. Okay, this is what I'm doing. This is where I need to go. And I would also like to say for those who are hearing live or would hear this later today, even if you're not struggling with porn, it's a porn pandemic. I mean, if you're following Nakula on his social media, and if you're a little bit familiar with Nakula's political perspectives on things, the real pandemic is a porn one. That's the pandemic that we're struggling with.
That's the real pandemic. We should actually.
That's the real pandemic, without any doubt. The other pandemics, we have a little doubt here and there, depending on who you are. But this is undoubtedly a pandemic. And rather, even if you're not personally afflicted with this particular disease, because you just happen to not be born a millennial or after, then you're definitely gonna know someone that's your friend, that's your brother,
100%.
that's your child, that's your priest. There's someone out there that's struggling, is gonna need that assistance, need that guidance, need that support, need the solidarity. Even that, yes, there's a group of other people who are honestly trying to matter-of-factly address this issue and move forward. So even if you're not coming for yourself, it could be useful to come for others. The others who are not yet courageous enough to step forward because of guilt or shame or whatever it might be, embarrassment, then you learning these things could be not for you necessarily, but for those who would need you at a critical time in their own life. And thinking about it in that way, I would say definitely consider signing up also.
Yeah. Well said.
It's the semen retention where you don't come to transform your life.
I love that. Love that.
Oh, man. Not cool.
Not cool.
Anyways, guys, look, first of all, I don't want to hijack Jake's time because I really, first of all, I do appreciate this impromptu invite to come on, and yeah, and I mean everything that I said about what I said about Jake, that he created an opportunity within the Army, and he's really set the model for this captain role. And so it's a high standard that he set, and I'm hoping other guys really come on board and help us really take this war on porn seriously. And at bare minimum, we do it within the Hare Krishna movement. Amazing. But if we can train up as if we can catch the vision that if as Hare Krishnas, we're the early adopters, maybe the younger Hare Krishnas community, it's that's what seems to be who's joining the Army. Great. We train ourselves up in this way, and then we take it out to the world. I think we have a great bridge program that is both accessible and how can I say it, relatable to even an atheist. You have now something that an atheist can benefit from that is very relatable to them: sex.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
And I think if devotees were able to catch that vision, then they would really see the potential of what's going on here. And it's not about Nakula anymore and the general and all that stuff, because with Jake doing his thing, and now you see, I saw, a Nakula there, chatting, and we've got guys are just they're catching the bigger vision of what we're doing here. And I think that's something that once people catch that, then they can be I get this. I mean, we've got women devotees reaching out who've caught this vision.
Yeah, quite.
And so,
Bro.
anyways, I just want to say thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you being such an endorser and sponsor of what we're doing.
Bro, I just love what you're saying. You know, like earlier we were talking about, you know, there's this common kind of thing like it's either sex or God. But basically what you're saying is, what if we bring people to God through sex?
Yeah, through sex.
Yeah, 100%.
Use it,
Everyone's
right?
like
Use it.
everyone's completely sex obsessed in any way, and most people in all the most unhealthy ways. So like, you know, get that energy, Nakul, throwing in the Maha mantra, yo. Yeah, amazing.
So many people come to a higher power through addictions. So many other addictions. That's the way they get over it. So why not porn or sex addictions? Why not? Why not come to something spiritual through that?
Absolutely on point. Yeah, man. Well, I'm satisfied. Jai, is there anything else we'd like to say? Jake,
I'd just like to
is there
say thank
anything
you,
else?
Jake. It was great having you on, and it was
it's fun.
it's fun. You're articulate. Your story is very touching. Also, Nakula, great to have you on at the tail end. Also, bringing your fun and loving energy. Also, and I hope
we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Others. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. What's the time? What's the time again of the workshop?
1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and you register through the Eventbrite link, which I am assuming you guys are leaving in the comments and stuff below.
It's there. It's there already. Okay, so just check the comments. One of the last comments. There's the link, and you can register. Anyway, we'll promote it more over the next 24 hours or so. Jake, bro, like what a treat chatting to you. Thanks so much for coming. Yeah,
but
man.
Before we go, you all gotta say, "Soldiers retain."
Soldiers retain. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.